向環球時事之門，真正言論門常開。劉墉、隨意門。
Okay, we're back. We have Matthew Thorn here, director of the film Lessons in Dissent, Mei Gao Cheng. Thank you, Matthew, for spending time with us in this web radio program. Now, this is the last part, about 11, 12 minutes. So, now let's not talk about politics and all that. I mean, what's your next project? I mean, do you have any new projects coming up?
I have a couple of projects happening. We may well do something on Occupy Central.
Great.
Although,
have you been in contact with them?
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people involved in Occupy Central. People who finance my film are heavily involved with it. So I know the Occupy Central people well, but I'm not really interested in Occupy Central for the sake of Occupy Central.
Right.
I'm interested in exploring Occupy Central in how did Hong Kong get to this situation? So, Occupy Central is the manifestation of a lot of other problems.
That's true.
So I think exploring those problems and understanding how Hong Kong, arrived at this current state is very interesting. So obviously Occupy Central will be a focus point, maybe a climax of that, but it would be a broader thing, a much bigger scope. So that's one project which I'm still trying to find funding for, and if that happens, if we get the funding, then yeah, I'll definitely.
Well, Occupy Central itself has a lot of money.
No,
I'm just
really.
joking. No, I'm just joking.
I know the finances of Occupy Central, and they keep saying to me we don't have enough. So, I think Occupy Central is interesting, from standpoint of
I agree.
What could happen, would there be bloodshed, because at the end of the day, Occupy Central, if it comes down to it, will Beijing clear Occupy Central like it cleared Tiananmen Square 25 years ago?
I don't think so.
Well, a lot of people say they don't think so. But I was speaking to Ching Chong the other day, and he's
not that sure about this.
He thinks the PLA will come out if they have to.
Really?
He doesn't think that China would worry about it too much. But the question is if they did, and there was bloodshed in central Hong Kong,
then
right? Well, A, one country, two systems over, but B, what would be the fallout? Because after Tiananmen, initially there was a fallout. The US and Europe, they withdrew somewhat. Not as much as really maybe they should have, but they withdrew somewhat. But we can't afford to this time around.
Yeah, because China is such a huge
We
economy
need China
now.
for the money, and our economies are too fragile for a shock like that. So we would probably just say, okay, we didn't like that very much, but all right, let's carry on business as usual. If that happens, then basically China becomes the de facto world superpower. Because what does being a superpower mean? It just means that nobody else is willing to stand up against you. And I foresee that to be what's going to happen. Because China might not have the military might to fight America yet, but it certainly has the economic might to fight America. And we're seeing it in Ukraine right now. The US and Europe just doesn't really want to fight Russia.
That was so disappointing.
Yeah, they don't want to do anything because it's just too much trouble. It's too much economic problems for them. So, let Sebastopol just go over to Russia. And so I think, Hong Kong is no longer the goose that laid the golden egg, which, has to be protected at all costs, which maybe the argument was in the 1990s. So Occupy Central for that reason is very interesting. And then the other project that I'm working on is actually something similar to this, online radio, about these group of teenagers, these sort of 18, 19-year-olds leaving school, going to university, growing up, going through all those things you do when you're that age, first love and all those things, but also coming to terms with who they are as Heng Gongyan.
Heng Gongyan, yes.
And being told through a schoolboy who runs an online radio station, which becomes bigger than RTHK and commercial radio, and everyone's listening to it.
This is such an interesting topic that actually our listeners will find it extremely interesting. Actually, would definitely go to watch it if you make that happen.
I think you can talk about a lot of interesting things. You can talk about freedom of speech.
Yes.
You can talk about freedom of association. You can talk about activism. and what is acceptable and what's not. But you can wrap it all up in an exciting coming-of-age story, which,
Exactly.
you know, one of the things we had with problem with my film, with Mei Gao Ting, is pretty much in your face. This is about the democracy movement. There's no getting away from it. It's not subtle at all. I don't believe in subtlety. I like to just hit you over the head with a sledgehammer and tell you what's going on. Sometimes I feel like people need to be woken up. But that causes a lot of problems when you try to show it in cinemas in Hong Kong.
Yeah.
So maybe a film where we're addressing very similar things. So this would be almost not a sequel, but you know, a reimagining of the people I knew and I've learnt to very much like whilst making Mei Gao Ting, a fictionalized version of their lives. So this world of activism.
Yeah, I quite like this idea actually. In that I mean, the teenagers they don't have to talk about only politics. They can talk about all those taboo stuff.
Yeah.
That the I mean, grown ups won't talk about when they're then the teenagers will talk about all these stuff.
Yeah, and I think teenagers are so much more accepting. You know, teenagers like say, "Oh, you're gay, okay, no problem," whereas
Yeah.
older society would be like, "Oh." And you know, Hong Kong is a pretty conservative place.
Still, yeah.
So a lot of these things about, you know, growing up and understanding who you are and what you believe, whether you believe in democracy or whether you believe in religion or whether you're straight or you're gay or whatever, all these things, you know, this is what you do when you're 18. And these stories, I remember watching them when I was a kid and feeling that they were really powerful. And nobody in Hong Kong is making these films.
So basically, you have the script in your mind already, right? Or have
I
you
already wrote a treatment and everything, so I'm kind of working on it. It's you know, it's more than just in my mind. It's on paper.
Okay, good. But the online radio you're talking about is not this kind of.
No,
like,
it's
maybe
not
Hong Kong
something
being
as nice as this. I'm thinking of like some little kid in his bedroom in Kwun Tong, you know, talking online radio, because that's the beauty of online radio.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
know, it can be as nice as this, or it can be as dingy as some kid in his room talking down a microphone. But I think, you know, the beauty of radio and what makes radio, whether it's online or pirate radio, attractive, is when you talk the truth. If you say the truth and you say what everyone else is thinking but is too afraid to say, then you will attract an audience.
Great. Yeah, I mean, so pretty much basically your next projects will still be all about Hong Kong.
Yeah, totally. I love this place. I know I'm addicted to it. You know, when I miss England when I'm away. I miss my wife mainly, but too long away from Hong Kong and I get, I don't know, it's like the DTs. I miss going to Cha Chang Tangs. I miss,
You
know,
really miss going to Chinatown?
yeah, I miss having Yin Yang, and I miss, you know, all the things that make this city just crazy but great.
I mean, we still have a few minutes remaining in today's show. So, Cha San Tang, what do you like about Cha San Tang? I mean, I like the food there as well, but Hong Kong Cha San Tang's food is no longer that great. I mean, compared to like 20 years ago.
Unfortunately,
you may have
not
heard.
as good as it used to. Well, no, I've experienced.
You experienced that actually.
It's not as good as it used to be, but it's. You go there and the atmosphere. I love the fact that you can be sat at the table eating something and some old guy comes to sit next door to you and wants to butt into your conversation and like tell you where you're wrong. And you know, I guess it's coming from Britain where everyone's stiff upper lip and sort of nobody really like talks to each other. You know, the fact that people in Hong Kong are so willing to like scream and shout at each other. And I just like, you know, I like walking through whatever neighbourhood, like, you know, Wan Chai or Sham Shui Po or somewhere, and you got the old guys who've been there 30,
Playing
50
chess.
years. Yeah.
Or Tai Chi.
Or whatever they're doing, and you know, you say hi to them and they want to say hi back. And Hong Kong has neighbourhoods, it has personality. It's a city with great soul. And I think, you know, what makes that soul, you know, if you took all, you know, the end of Hong Van, you know, the Fruit Chan film.
Okay.
At the end of that film, there's a shot and all the life in Hong Kong is taken away, all the people, all the cars, all the vehicles. It's just a dead shell. It's just you know, buildings. Buildings don't make the city. The people make the city. You know, and Hong Kong people, Cantonese culture is so full of personality. The language is full of personality. They like to swear, and it's graphic, and it's exciting, and it's funny, and they care about food, and they care about money, and they care about, you know, their family, and they care about each other, and it's just it's an inspiring place to be, and I challenge anyone not to come to Hong Kong and love it.
I mean, that's very strange. I mean, you're coming from a culture or country with all the understatements, like Brits are just very soft.
Yeah.
We don't want to offend anyone, and then you like the culture, that Cantonese culture, that we just swear and talk loudly and everything, do it in your face, and kind of culture. You like that, right?
I love that. I think that's what makes, when you go over to the mainland, when I was living in Beijing, everyone is a lot more reserved.
True.
And they don't tell you what they're thinking. You normally have to work it out by reading in between the lines. And I think that is a product of living under communism.
Yes.
You see very similar when you go to Thailand, you cross over the border to Cambodia, more reserved, worried. When you've learnt that saying what you think can get you into trouble, you don't say what you think. In Hong Kong, I think unfortunately people are starting to worry about what they say, but on the whole, people still have that, we'll say what we think and say on my mind. So I like the sea lies. I like the old guys who will tell me off. I like the taxi drivers who are damn right rude to me most of the time. These are characters and they're inspiring.
Right. Great. Yeah, I hope next time, so you should start learning Cantonese.
I've been trying, gosh.
It's one of the hardest languages in the world.
Yeah.
But then next time, I hope you can go up to my show again and do it in Cantonese. Maybe not, but
that's an ask. But yeah, I will try.
You should try. No, thanks.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Matthew, for coming to my show and making it a very special one for my rap radio. We have never done anything fully in English before. I hope this is a new experience for not only for you, for me, and also for the listeners. And thank you very much today. And our show, we'll see each other next Tuesday again. Bye.
Thanks.
打機唔一定要勁先好睇嘅。
第4場嘅賽事，嗱大家準備好啊，唔好亂咁嚟啊！睇住啊，嗱嘅，嗱呢個一定係慶祝嚟嘅，我都係收下龍門先。哇！一個撞牆嘅歌嚟啦，6-0喎！哎呀，把握唔到呢個攻勢。7-0，先，我想踢波啊！
逢星期2、4凌晨1點，遊戲人間係有種玩法。
咁啊 Jeff 係一個咩人咧？其實阿 Jeff 咧就係一個航空公司嘅機師，飛咗大約係5分鐘嘅過程入邊咧，咁突然間佢發現咧嗰個 engine 咧就係熄咗，咁佢咧架飛機就一路希望利用滑翔嘅方式咧，就喺個樹林嗰度即係降落咧。咁然之後當佢醒翻咧，其實咧佢就發覺佢就唔喺個飛機入邊啦。佢醒翻咧，佢居然咧就喺個戶外嗰度。咁但係當時佢望咗兩望咧，佢再望咧，佢發覺個機艙副機師喺一邊啦，死咗啦。但係喺另外一邊咧，佢見到有啲手腳喺度。咁佢就睇呢個邊個嚟咧？咁點知俾佢一睇咧，佢見到係佢自己。
如果想收睇更多精彩內容，就上 MJ13show.com 以65蚊3個月訂閱節目重溫啦。